Hi. Hello, 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 hello. Oh, I'm always hot. Hi. Hey, y'all. Hello. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Let me see if any of my folk are on. Hello, International Graham. My day is going well. A little hot. Sorry. Thank you, Rod. Okay, so sorry. I have this camera at an odd angle. Welcome to the Becky Brown Girl Show. I am your host, Becky Brown Girl, and tonight we are talking about the benefits of marriage for men. You hear a lot across social media about how marriage only benefits women, and tonight I'm here to refute that. I actually put the call out last week when I decided I wasn't going to do my show. I had the idea at the last minute to ask, husbands, happily married husbands, to weigh in about how marriage is beneficial to them. And I was pleasantly surprised at the responses I got from the fellas. So I think I've got a good group for you guys tonight. Looking forward to hearing what they have to say. They've all been married for like varying periods of time, so I think their perspectives are going to be interesting. And let me say off the bat, this is not to suggest that marriage is for everyone, right? Because I don't think that's true. I don't think there's any one size fits all way you should live your life. But for those who still kind of aspire to be married, are interested in marriage, especially for, the fellas, because again, there's a lot of information and opinions across social media about how marriage doesn't benefit men and, it's antiquated and why it doesn't work. I just wanted to put a different spin on the narrative about marriage and straight from the horse's mouth of men who are, again, happily married. So, with that said, let me see if any of them are on yet. If they're not, let me see. You got a wave. Oh, you're funny. Okay, so I see at least one of my guests on. I'm gonna go ahead and add him. Hopefully the other will join momentarily. I'm gonna do them 2 by 2, like Noah's Ark. Hello, Crenshaw 74. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add you, Calvin. Let me see something. Hold on. Bear with me a second, please. Okay. And hopefully, like I said, my other guests will join momentarily. Well, hello there.
Hey, how are you?
I'm
How are you
good.
doing? And
Say hi to the people. You
how's
know,
everyone in Becky Brown Girl land?
wait. Before you talk, I have to introduce you.
All
So,
right, all right,
and
okay.
pardon me because I'm just over here having a personal summer. Okay, so welcome, Calvin, aka CS Coates Jr. Calvin is a 52-year-old son, father of 3 adults, grandfather of 1 toddler, aka the landlord. He's adorable. And husband to 1 beautiful woman. And this is what he said. So, Mrs. Coates, you got a good man. That's a good man, Savannah. He loves to travel, eat, and make folks laugh. And he asks that you follow him on FB. Calvin and his longtime friend Garland are the host of the BIG, Big Intelligent Gentleman Sports Show. You
There
can
you
find it on
go.
all the podcast platforms and on YouTube. So I'm gonna let him put all his info where he wants y'all to follow him at some point if he wants to do it now, later, or whatever. But anyway, welcome, Calvin. I hope
Thank
you don't
you.
mind me calling you by your government.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries. It's better than what some people call me.
So welcome. Now hold on just one moment
Okay.
because I want to see. Okay, so there's my other guest. These are my newerly married. Newerly? Hi. Hello.
Hi.
I wanted to talk to you both at the same time. So
Good evening. Good evening.
okay, let me introduce you real quick and then we're gonna get into this discussion. So welcome Jay, aka Maurice, also known as No Losses, Just Lessons, on IG. Jay is a content creator, father, and artist, and also a husband, hence the reason that he's here. Um, he is a future entrepreneur that also enjoys sharing his perspectives on relationships and sharing life advice. He's an investor and a medical professional as well. So, looking to help others with relationship issues that they may be experiencing. So, welcome, Jay, Maurice. What would you prefer me to call you on this show?
Either one. Either one. It don't matter. Whatever's more comfortable for you.
Okay. I'm gonna call you Jay. I don't know if
Okay,
that's
that
what your
sounds
mom
good.
call you, but that's what I'm gonna call
Okay.
you. So
Sounds
anyway, welcome Calvin and Jay.
Thank you.
So is there anything that either of you want to say before we get into the conversation?
So I see a couple of my friends joined, so I wanted to say thank you all for supporting us and anyone that's not supporting the Ravens, because I see a couple of you dropping in there. Well, we'll be beating the Chiefs tomorrow, but we can discuss that later. And my man Jay there, I see you got that New York Yankees thing on, but Orioles will be number one. But no
oh,
worries, no
come
worries.
on.
Oh, now here we go. Sports talk later, marriage talk now.
Right, right.
So
All right.
Jay, is there anything that you wanna add
Oh no,
about this?
I appreciate being on the show. I appreciate being a part of the conversation, and I hope we could, get some valid points across and maybe give people a different outlook on marriage and things of that nature.
We gonna see. So Uh, so let me just clarify because I did advertise that I have 4 guests on. The
Right.
way I'm using IG will only allow me to have 3 at a time, and I thought it would be better just to have 2 and 2. So these are my 2, as I said, newest, youngest married. You know what the hell I'm trying to say. You know how to spell it. So I'm gonna start with Calvin because he was here first.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Jay, you can respond to this
Okay.
question as well. So first of all, Calvin, how long have you and your beautiful wife been married?
It will be 7 years, September 30th. So we will be celebrating our anniversary the end of this month.
Wow.
Woo! Yeah.
Nice.
Y'all clap it
Yeah.
up for them in the comments, okay?
Nice.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
So Calvin, my first question to you is, do you consider yourself a certified lover boy? Like, have you always preferred being in a relationship versus being a player? Or did you have a player phase and you met your match and she took you off the market?
Wow. So if you ask my friends, they would all say that I'm a player. But for the record, I have never cheated on an actual girlfriend. They
Yeah.
may have only lasted a week or so, but I've never actually cheated. Um, but no, no. So I've always been interested in a partner in a relationship. So I mean, of course, I've had times where I'm looking and I'm just like, well, let me see what this one is doing, that one is doing, but I'm terrible at lines, so I can't juggle women around because if I lie to you about this, then I might have to tell someone else that hey, it's just too much for me.
Exactly.
And when it came to meeting my wife, and I don't necessarily want to say that it was I met my match, but it was someone that I met that had all of the qualities that I would have been looking for in a
Mhm.
mate. And once you realize that, it's just like there's really nothing else out here. Now, of course, it helped that she threw me an ultimatum after so many years, like, so what's up? What are we trying to do? And then once I realized that, hey, I don't want to lose her because I love her, she loves me, and it's time to start making some changes. So,
So
and that's what I did.
that's what's up.
So before I go to Jay, that's a beautiful story. But before I go to Jay, do you think that your age, because that's not something I posed to you guys earlier, but do you think that your age and maturity level was a factor in being ready to, put down your player cards?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that, I stress to my son, and my son is 24 years old, get it out now because you don't want to be that guy 30 and 40 years old, still trying to play around in the field. Once you get it out of your system, once you get mature and you understand what's out here and what you're looking for and what can be offered to you, then you're in a better position to start making decisions, lifetime decisions. So, yeah, I think I got married at 45, and although that's late for a lot of people, for me, it was the perfect timing. It's my wife's first marriage also, and she's 45, or she was 45 at the time. Yeah, and it was perfect for both of us. And now we're living very, very happily, very blissfully.
Oh, like I said, Mrs. Coates, you got a good man, Savannah. Uh, okay, so Jay, now how long have you and your lovely wife been married?
We brand new marriage wise. We just made a year on June 2nd.
Oh,
So
clap, clap
yeah,
for that, y'all.
yeah.
So, same question to you. Would you consider yourself uh, a certified lover boy type, like you prefer relationships, or were you a player, a reform player, and she, again, you met your match in her?
um, I guess it's safe to say I was somewhat of a reform player. Uh, obviously when you're younger, you exploring your options. You seeing how long you could maintain in the field, so to speak. But truthfully, that life was never for me. Like my brother over here said, I'm horrible at lying, and man, when I tried, I was getting caught up left and right. I couldn't keep up with them stories. After a while, it became a headache trying to keep up with balancing two different lifestyles and trying to keep everybody happy. It was too much. And then, but when I met, my wife, my lady, I sometimes you kind of just know off the back. I knew like he said the qualities that she brought, our friendship, the things that she was more focused on is what really made me want to pursue a commitment with her. Only difference in our stories, she never gave me an ultimatum. And
So
as
let me
weird as
ask you, how long
what,
were you dating before you proposed?
uh, officially dating,
Mhm.
we was probably like 7, 8 years.
No,
I,
no ultimatum.
I,
Well,
no,
you a little bit younger, so
yeah. See, but it's weird because that's what made me want to do it for her even more because she always stressed like, I know I'm spending my life with you regardless. I don't need a ring. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me that I'm gonna be with you. I just want our life together, and that is what I'm like, wow, okay. 'Cause everybody else I was with, okay. So when are we doing this? Can we go stop by Zales just so I can show you what type of ring I want? And that, I don't know, that was just a turn off for me.
so and Calvin, I didn't ask you how long were y'all dating before you got that ultimatum?
So she will say that it was about 10 years. I'm going to say it was about 3 years. And
A
if
damn
you
minute.
notice what if you
Is she
notice
on
what
here?
Jay said, if you notice what Jay said, and most men do this, officially we were dating officially.
God, yeah.
And we may have
Here
been
you go.
talking 3 or 4 years, but officially. And let me clarify, the ultimatum wasn't, are you going to marry me? The ultimatum was about my life. I was just blissfully going through life with no cares, no responsibilities. And it was like, hey, you too old to be doing this. When are you going to mature? Because basically, I want to be with you, but I'm not going to be with you in this stage. So I had to get it together. That was the ultimatum, and I knew I didn't want to lose her. So to me, that was, it's time to move on. Let's go. Let's be together, girl.
Okay. That's how you proposed?
Actually, it's not, but I should have. It sounds great.
Okay. So, generally speaking, then, what does marriage mean to you? Like, if you defined it broadly, how would you describe it? And both of you can answer. Calvin, you can start.
Calvin, you want to go first?
Yeah. So, it means to me someone that I can go to battle with. Someone that can look out for me as I look out for them. I'm big on being a protector, but then there's sometimes that I want to feel protected. And having a partner in my life, just facing this world, even police officers need a partner because the world is crazy and the world is dangerous. And when you're facing life, especially as a black man, you need someone by your side, someone that has your best interest at heart.
Mhm.
So for me, marriage means that, hey, we're tackling the world together, babe, me and you.
Right. Very
Okay,
well
Jay.
said. Very well said. Um, I'm gonna sum it in 3 words. Um, Friendship being number one, companionship number two, and partnership number three. You know,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Short and sweet. Okay, so what would you say, Jay, and well, both of you, what would you say are keys to making it work in your experience? Like, I mean, I'm gonna go with Calvin first because he got a little more
Yeah.
experience under his belt.
Yeah.
Um, you have to be flexible. You have to be able to adjust to not just schedules, but to personalities. You have to be willing to sacrifice some things that you might like and some things that you might want.
Right.
Um, you have to be completely honest, like totally honest. There cannot be any, if a bill is going to be paid late, you can't wait until it's late. You got to say, hey, this bill is going to be paid late. You just have to be completely honest, and you have to trust. You cannot spend your time worrying about, I wonder where she is now. It's 10 minutes after the time she usually comes home. So for me, it's a lot of trust, it's a lot of flexibility, and it's the utmost honesty.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
Jay.
100%. I definitely got piggyback off trust. Trust is a huge factor. I think in any relationship, whether it be a friendship, work relationship,
Absolutely.
definitely marriage. I'm real big on communication. Like we got to be able to speak our feelings, whether it's you pissed at me, whether you pissed at the world, whether you feeling the happiest you ever felt in your life. We got to be able to speak about anything and speak candidly and speak, just openly. Those two things is huge for me. And not to sound cliche or corny, but we gotta be friends.
Yeah.
Like you gotta be the homie. Like I know a
Hmm.
lot of people who are married, but they don't have a friendship with their wife, and I think that that puts a little bit of a damper in things because you don't really enjoy that quality time as much. It becomes like a duty after a while. So those are the things that's really really important to me if you want to make it work and make it last.
Make it last forever.
There you
Sorry.
go. That part. That part.
All right. So, and this is okay. So, Calvin, you said this is your first marriage for both of you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, now I already asked you this next question. What are the top 3 pieces of advice? This kind of um is a continuation of the last question I asked, but the top 3 pieces of advice you would give a man contemplating marriage. Calvin, Jay,
Um,
whichever one of you wants to go first.
Jay, you can go first this time.
Okay.
Oh,
Top 3 pieces of advice. Make sure make sure she's that sound
but she's
so
not for the
cliche,
street.
but I truly mean this though. She can't just be eye candy. She gotta be soulful. Like, it's easy to find somebody who's attractive, who looks good on your arm, who, pleases your physical needs. But if she can't stimulate you mentally, or if she don't stimulate this, you gotta leave it where you found it. 2, take your time. I really believe time reveals all things. Um, I feel like a lot of people that rush, they end up making decisions that they regret. I feel like, I mean, if God puts it on your heart, like, this is the one, do it now, obviously follow your heart, but I really believe in taking your time. Um, Number 3, I would say do couples counseling before you even, what I'm saying, start in a couples counseling. I think it's helpful. Do couples therapy beforehand. Don't wait till you smell smoke to, what I mean, sound off the fire alarm. Like, let's get some stuff out the way. Let's, what I mean, if that makes sense. That would be my top 3 advices to any young man that's thinking about it, or couple.
I'm a big proponent of therapy, so I'm always going to give the
Oh,
thumbs up for
okay.
therapy.
All right.
So,
See.
Calvin.
Yeah, so I try to have this conversation with my son at least once or twice a year, but the first thing is make sure you're getting married for the right reason. Don't feel pressured to get married. A lot of times we'll hear women say they're going to leave us and we start giving them flowers. I want to marry you. I want to do this. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then you just realize that, yeah, I didn't really want to do that. I just didn't want her to leave because, like Jay said, I like the way she looked. She looked good on my arm. Um, the, the the next thing that I would suggest is to make sure you get yourself together. Stop wearing those holy socks. Stop wearing them holes in your underwear. Like, work on yourself because you need to present yourself to her
Right.
as someone that she wants, because women don't want to scrub on their arm. They don't want their girlfriends like, I mean, he nice and everything, but you sure that's what you want? Try work towards getting a better job if you don't have a good one.
Right.
Work towards getting a car if you don't have one. A lot of people think that if you don't have these things coming into the relationship, the woman doesn't want you, and that's not true. Women will build with you if they see that you're trying to build for yourself. So, and what's the third thing that I like to tell them? I piggybacking off of Jay with the take your time. It is not a race. I tell not just my son, but I tell my girls also. Your dad didn't get married till he was 45. There is no race to get married. Now, the saying is true, and I'm sorry, ladies, but the saying is true. Women get married when they can, men get married when they want to. It's very true. But take your time and find the right woman because she's out here. She's looking to be with someone, but you have to be a good man. You have to present yourself to her.
Right.
So,
That's a
Jay,
fact.
I have a quick question, and then something else that you said actually inspired another thought. But how old are you, if you don't mind sharing?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, 41.
Okay, and your wife is
38.
okay. So my comment. My comments.
Okay.
Now, see, no, it's different. It's different in Calvin's situation because, they were the same age.
Okay.
We're the same
But I mean,
age.
like I hear what you're saying, Calvin, about, when you can, when you want to, right? Because
I
because
mean, it's
I know generally younger women are considered more desirable, right? Especially for a man who didn't have kids. If you want to have kids, that's, something that you have to take into consideration. But if you're dating a woman of a certain age, then we don't got all this time in the world. So what is me doing?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see my thing is I agree. I don't ever want to try to force somebody to do something that they're not inclined to do on their own. Like never ever ever. Because if that's not something you're considering, you don't perceive me that way, no problem. But I ain't waiting years to find out that that's how you feel. Not at this point in my life. Like I'm figure that out pretty quickly and then I'm out of there. But that's me. But that's why I'm talking to y'all because I'm trying to understand the mind of a married man, right? So I'm just saying, I do think age
it's
is a
not
consideration
it's
when
not
you
always one size. It's not one size fits all either.
no,
I know.
it's not.
One of my best friends, him and his wife were high school sweethearts, and they are in their mid to late 40s, and they have been together ever since high school. So
Wow.
sometimes it just works out that way. Everything isn't the same. My buddy Garland, he's been married since his years in college, so he's going on 30 something years. I mean,
Wow.
you know.
Hold, hold on. I'm sorry. I just have to address this comment, Azuma. Okay. So this is what we're not doing, right? What we're not doing, and I'm not trying to censor y'all in the comments, but I particularly invited people on who are married, not people who've not been married, not people who've been married and bitter, people who are married and or were previously married and would and still deem like the institute of marriage something that is beneficial, right? Or something that they would pursue again. Because there's plenty of places that you can go on the interwebs to talk about why marriage is not for men. This ain't that place. You dig me. Not tonight, it ain't. So you can say what you want in the comment. That's fine. I'm not trying to censor nobody. I'm just saying, we not doing that. We not doing that. That's all. So y'all can go be salty and talk about why you don't want to get married somewhere else. That is all good. But I specifically emphasize the benefits because there are benefits. That's all. So I appreciate you joining though. So please stay because it might change your perspective. But anywho, moving on. So, apologies for the interlude, folk. Um, okay. So, Jay, you mentioned something about um God. So,
Yeah.
if you consider yourself religious or spiritual, what factor do you think that plays in the success of your marriage, or like, how does that? Well, you know what I'm trying to say. Anyway.
Um, I think, I grew up on the saying, those that pray together stay together, but I do believe that if God is in the center of your marriage, you have a stronger chance of having a successful marriage, and that's just my belief. If you guys are equally yoked, um, there's a lot of things you would probably avoid that we see and hear of so many other couples, whether it be celebrity or common everyday folk going through. And that's just my belief.
And Calvin, do you consider
Yes,
yourself religious or spiritual?
I so because I'm not practicing a religion. I don't want to say I'm not practicing because I'm not frequently attending a church right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put those titles on, but I am a believer, and my wife is a believer, and I also think that two people, and maybe it works for some people, but I do think that religion is key and your beliefs are key in finding a partner. I don't, maybe it works for someone, but I don't think the two people could be of different religions. Um, I could be wrong, but both of us are believers. We pray before meals, we pray as a family. Um, and yeah, although I don't consider myself spiritual, I
Right.
am a believer, and so is my
Right.
wife.
Okay. Okay, so I have one more question for y'all. And um okay, so as far as like your circle, your family, your friends, um were your parents married, and if so, like, are they still married? Were they married a long time? Are the like people in your close inner circle married? And do you think either or both of those things plays a part um in your perception of marriage and it being something that you did eventually desire to do? Jay, Calvin, did somebody, anybody
Cal,
scream?
you want to take this one first, Cal?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, my parents were married when I was born. They did get divorced when I was pretty young, 5, 6 years old.
Okay.
Um, but they always maintained a healthy relationship. So, I didn't really get to see the benefits of marriage per se, but I got to see the product of marriage, which was me, and the benefit of two adults who truly love me. Now, when it comes to my circle of friends, it's crazy. I have some female friends that'll say, set me up with some of your friends. And I'm like, all of my friends are married. I have one very close friend that's not married, but he just got engaged and he'll be married in August.
Nice.
My crew is married. The people I hang with are married. And it is a benefit because you don't want to hang with single guys if you're a married man. That could get you in some trouble. I'm not going to say
Ooh.
always, but it could get you in some trouble. And it definitely helps, to see your friends in loving marriages because, that you all can go out together. You can hang out together, and we are all close. We couple up whenever we can. Garland just talked about him. He said he's been married 32 years. That's
Oh,
my guy.
that's Big Gat.
That's Big Gat. That's Big Gat. That's my
That's
guy.
dope.
But yeah, so it is a benefit to have friends that are married. It is something that I looked at, and fortunately, it worked out for me also.
Excellent. So, Jay.
Um, Probably complete opposite, right? So, um, my parents unfortunately weren't married. Uh, Uncles weren't married, but it's weird because I always aspired to. Well, I always see myself being a husband. I didn't know if it'll ever happen, but um, even with the circle of friends, uh, probably my best friend is the only one in my crew that is married. A lot of my guys are single, and like Calvin said, it do get dangerous sometimes with single guys.
So does your okay, so let me ask you this. When like does your wife know your like close core group of friends, or do
Um,
do you maintain separation from the
no,
wanksters
no,
in your
yeah,
crew?
I bring her around everybody, um, and she know, my married friend. She know the wolves. She know, she know how everybody operate. Um, but she know me, and like I said, that's my best friend. So I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with her all the time. Um, but yeah, does it get dangerous? Yeah, because I have one friend that just hit me this morning, like, hey, I understand you married Jay, but one trip
Who
to
is that?
Colombia.
No
Please.
names. No names. No
Give
names.
no
No
names.
names.
We
No
online.
names.
But he's like, come on, I'll
All
pay for
right,
your
don't make
ticket
me
to
fight him for
Colombia.
Mrs. J. Don't make me fight him. Tell him to stop be a bad
You know,
influence. We're
still
not
trying
doing
to
that.
get me to take a flight out there. I'm like, bro, I cannot do it, man. I can't do it. What part don't you get? You're like, where the J I used to know?
Don't do
Like,
your
no.
hoeing like alone. Don't be trying to bring this married man into the shenanigans and nonsense.
But, in Calvin's situation, that's a blessing because, you know, each one of y'all have someone to lean on. Y'all can lean on each other. God forbid I'm having trouble in my marriage. It's probably safer to go talk to Calvin than it is to my boy who's trying to get me to take a flight. You know what I'm saying? Calvin's going to give me the right encouragement, the right feedback that I need that's going to make me want to stand on my covenant, as opposed to, the opposite, who's going to have me at the airport by Friday. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. So, okay. So, really quickly, because now I did ask you a lot of questions like surrounding marriage,
right.
but how would you say marriage has benefited you most? However many responses you want to give. So, Calvin and then Jay.
Okay.
So my wedding song, well, not wedding song, our entry song is Upgrade. I feel like my wife has upgraded me in so many different levels. I drink wine now, no more Mad Dog 2020. I drink wine. I probably would never travel to some of the places that I've been if it wasn't for this woman saying to me, "Hey, expand your horizons." I'm fine flying throughout the country, but we just came from Italy not too long ago. I probably wouldn't have gone to Italy. That's not a boys'
Yeah.
trip. I mean, it can be after you've been to Italy. It can be a boys' trip, but it's not something that you would want to experience with anyone but someone that you really love and that you're really into. So
Right.
I've just been upgraded. I want to make sure I look neat. I want to make sure that when I represent myself, when I speak to people, that they understand that I'm married. I never want to represent myself as someone single. And I've had a woman hit on me, and I've always questioned myself, like, what did I present that made it seem as if I was not married? So just it helps me think. It just grounds me. Marriage has
Right.
grounded me, and
Man,
it's just benefited me. I couldn't imagine myself in any other position right now.
Oh,
man, Cal.
he's sweet.
Woo.
Okay.
If I wasn't married, he'd make me want to go get married. Like, damn, Cal. Okay. Um, Definitely agree with what Calvin said. She definitely made me a better man, a better person. I used to be, like a hothead, quick tempered, quick to respond to certain things, because that's where I grew up. That's the environment I grew up around. So that's all I knew. Um, she showed me, the difference between what's worth your time and attention and what's not. You know,
I
this
love
woman pushed me to finish my education, get my degrees. And this was a time we wasn't even serious. She's like, listen, I just want you better for you, even if we don't
Oh,
end up
I love
together.
her.
And that was a lot for me. That meant a lot because she meant it. You know what I'm saying? She has me more focused on my health, more focused on my relationship with God. Like it's just all around, man. She truly made me a better marriage. Truly made me a better
Is
person.
she
I
here?
must say. No, no, she's not here. She actually texted me. I just got out the shower. Y'all still on?
Oh, come on in, Mrs. J.
Yeah.
Because I'm about to kick them off. But
Oh, gosh, man.
no, just because I want to make sure I leave space and
Right. No,
time
no, I know.
for my other guests. I was thinking about something else while you were talking. Damn, it's gonna come back to me later, but oh, so I just want to emphasize again for the people who might not have joined in the beginning. The intent isn't to suggest marriage is the only acceptable way for you to have a bond with somebody, a meaningful bond, because I do not think it's for everyone, right? That's not what I'm suggesting. I am suggesting that this notion that marriage is so horrible for men. You got a ball and chain and you don't got no freedom, and now you can't be a player no more, and and there's no benefit is nonsense. That's
Right.
probably true for some men. Maybe you picked the wrong woman,
Right.
right? So take a look at yourself in the mirror, homeboy. But for those who ended up with the right partner, the right life partner, it can be a beautiful thing. Not perfect, right? Not
No.
perfect,
Definitely not. Definitely
Mm-mm.
not.
but worth it that you have to put in the effort. So one final thought I wanted to add is the grass is greener where you
There
water it.
you go. There you go.
Absolutely.
Say it again.
Absolutely.
Um,
And I got a lot more grass than I had when I wasn't married.
That part. That part.
so do either of you have anything else that you want to add? I mean, I hate that I can't have all of y'all on at the same time, but maybe I'll bring one of you back after I have my OG husbands on. But is there anything else you want to add before I kick you out of
Um,
here?
just real quick, someone asked if I take any boys trips. I don't take boys trips, but me and my buddies, we decided that we were going to get a season package for the Orioles, of course, because they're the best team ever. But that gives us time to hang out and without the women, and we can sit back and kick it, watch a ball game, talk about stuff that we probably wouldn't talk about around our women, but also talk about our marriage and our careers and things like that. Just have God time, just kick it. And we do that every now and then. So that's really enough for me. But I've always been one without a whole lot of friends that I've hung out with. So that may not work for everybody.
Right.
Well, I will say, sorry, just really quickly, Jay, before you share your final thought, that I think in any relationship it's important that you have like time. Obviously you have quality time with your partner, but it shouldn't be all consuming. Like you should be able
Mhm.
to, ideally, even if that's your homie, your ace, your ride or die, sometimes you're gonna want time to yourself.
Of course.
Sometimes you're gonna want time with, some of your other folk. If you have a good relationship with them, your family, ideally that's something y'all can spend time doing together. But point is, I don't think there's anything wrong with having, you know, other connections and other relationships. I think it's important. I think also absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Isn't that what they
Yes.
say?
It's true.
Mhm.
All the cliches, right? So
Absolutely.
Jay, a final thought from you.
Um, I'm gonna just go back to my point about taking your time. If anybody's considering marrying either somebody you with or you hoping to find somebody to settle with, take your time, pray about it, and during that time, work on yourself. You know, try to bring the best version of yourself to whatever situation you either in or whatever situation you hope to be in, and let God do the rest.
Great.
Beautiful,
Great.
beautifully stated. Now, um, Calvin, is your wife here?
She should be. She came in right before we started, so
Miss
she should be in
Katina,
here.
Miss Katina. Hi. And, Jay, how about you? Because I just wanted them, if you wanted to shout them out before I kick you out of here.
She
I'm
ain't
only
here
kicking them
yet.
out because I have other people to bring on. I'm sorry, ladies.
She ain't show up. She ain't show up, but she'll see the
She
replay.
will. She will.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good, good. Well done, fellas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
So
have
now you can see
Hey, Jay,
yourself out
good
of here.
job, Jay.
it.
I
Have a
also
good
love
night,
your
y'all.
guest. Your guests were great, Michelle,
Oh, thank
or
you.
Stacy, rather. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I got a bunch of aliases too. So let me just make sure Father Drew and Fred and them are you on here? I see you, Father Drew. I think I saw my other guest on here too.
Have a
So
good night, guys.
Alrighty.
um,
Everyone have a good
Bye.
evening. Be safe, be
thank
blessed.
You too.
you, thank y'all. Bye. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my long term husbands to the conversation. Okay, there's one, and where is the other? Hello, I hear you, but I can't see you yet.
Hey, how are you?
Hello there. How are you?
Can you hear me now? I'm fine, thank you. How are
I
you?
can hear you well. Thank you. So I'm gonna introduce you. Just one second. I want to see if where is he? So I'm adding. I think I sent you a note to let you know I was gonna add y'all 2 by 2. So
Yeah.
let me just
Hey,
make
you
sure.
don't have to. I don't know if I sent you a bio before, but you don't have to read
Uh,
all
no,
of
I always do. I like to introduce my people so they know who it is they talking to, or who it is I'm talking to. And
it.
if if you'd like them to come follow you, this is Andrew G, aka Father Drew on IG, and Father Drew is a father, a husband, obviously. He is sorry, I'm scrolling back up here in my notes. Okay, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Father, pastor, actor, entrepreneur, podcaster of the No Filters podcast. And as I mentioned, first and foremost, for the purposes of this conversation, a husband.
Yep.
And welcome. Now, how long have you been married,
Uh,
sir?
can they all hear? I've been married for 18 years.
See, these
Eight.
this is the OG. I wanted to have the people who were, more newly married on first, because people be like, oh, you haven't even been married that long. Of course it's good. So I wanted to get perspectives
Is,
of different people
is
who,
it is it muted? They're saying they can't hear.
well, I don't know what's wrong with theirs. I can hear you fine. Um, I can hear you. Are they saying they can't hear me? People who are,
Yeah,
more
I guess they
new.
can hear.
Okay, what's happening over here?
My bad. Can you hear me?
I can hear
Yep.
you.
Okay.
Y'all can
Cool.
hear?
All right,
Can
I had
good.
y'all?
to I had to switch for whatever reason. I couldn't log on from the laptop, so that was the mix up.
That's
So
okay. That's okay. Stay ready. So you don't gotta get ready. You'll
yeah.
be ready.
Oh wow, it's a little
Um,
bit of a delay, I think. Okay. Anyway.
okay, so welcome Fred, aka I am Fred B on IG. He is a Los Angeles native, but it's called Houston home since 2021, where he lives with his lovely wife and 2 middle schoolers. He's an HR professional, futures trader, and poet. Beyond his professional endeavors, he is an avid reader, dedicated gym rat, taco enthusiast, and another podcaster as well. So, welcome, Fred. And
Thank you. Glad to be here.
now, Father Drew, would you prefer to be Father Drew or
Now,
Andrew for the conversation?
Drew's fine.
Drew.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Okay, so is there anything that you want to add? I don't know how long you both were on and how much you heard of your predecessors, but um is there anything you want to add before I get into these questions?
They may
I
not have
think
as much mileage, but they represented well. They
yeah.
dropped a lot of gems. So tough act to follow. Let's see if we can add some more value.
Okay. Drew, anything else you want to add on that? No?
Yeah, we can just we can start going. They did a great job.
Okay. Cool. Um, okay, so and Fred, how long have you and your wife been married?
15 and a half years.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so as I asked your predecessors, um, Drew and then Fred, would you consider yourself a certified lover boy? Have you always been a relationship type,
Mm.
or were you a player that met his match?
Mm.
Drew, you go first, and then Fred.
I don't really like this question. I feel like it's put me on the spot.
Now,
It's a trap.
wait a minute
it's a
now. I
it's a trap.
shared this with y'all in advance. You
Listen,
knew what I was
listen,
going to ask. Don't
listen,
get shy
listen.
now.
Let me tell you what 15 and 18 years tells you. 15 years and 18 years tells you it's a trap.
Wait a
Don't step on that bomb.
damn minute.
No, but I mean, I, 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 I met my wife when we were like 21.
Okay.
I was like 20. She was 19. It was 2001. So I think before that, yeah, I might have had that certification. um, but when I met her, I was sure like, all right, this is who I want to be with. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Excellent.
Mhm.
And Fred?
Oh man. So in my heart, I was always a certified lover boy. I was the gentle guy. Heartbreak made me the villain as a
Oh
coping
boy.
mechanism,
yep,
so I
yep,
blame the field, you know what I mean? I became a player, I took on that persona. Uh and at the time, of course, I probably was proud about it. I mean, I grew up off of Dog Pound,
yeah,
Too Short. I'm West. I'm sugar free. That was my milieu. That was the environment. Um, but it was more of a coping mechanism. If I keep it a buck, I think I was doing that to hedge my bets. It was more of a immaturity and an insecurity, really. Like, okay, if this don't work out, I got someone or something to fall back on. When really the healthier way is to just not need someone else to pivot to, but to be content with yourself and be like, you know what? If they go away, I still got me. But yeah, I was a player up until my wife actually, and I've been able to stay in frame. She was the one that she had all the right things, and I don't think you can make somebody change, but I had the incentive like this feels like home. I can rest here, and so to her credit, but I was also ready I was already a lover boy anyway. She just helped me unearth that, if you
yeah.
will.
So
And
so let me ask you really quickly. How old were you when that heartbreak occurred? Because some of y'all be getting your heart broken when you like
no, we
50
Yeah,
all
years
do.
old.
We all
you're
do.
right. You're
We
right.
all do.
Uh, I was too young to be even talking about heartbreak, and so hence the immaturity. I mean, my kids are 11 and 12. I was probably around that.
Oh my God.
But then there's some parent wounds and stuff that probably made me more susceptible. Like my dad was out of the picture, so you probably you trying to figure it out. You looking for love and acceptance in an unhealthy way.
Yeah,
You have to grow out of that.
because that's really what that is. Like, there are no certified lover boys who are that way for no reason, right? Like
Yeah.
something makes that something creates that. There's a void that you're trying to fill. You know what I mean, with your activities, and so it's marriage doesn't end that all the time,
See,
right?
it's the void that you mentioned, because I feel like, and again, I know everyone's different, so I don't want to put everyone in a box and say everyone should aspire to this. But I do feel like it's not the way some people are wired. Some people are just wired to be in a relationship, a one-on-one situation, like they like that type of connection versus just, sort of the assembly line. you know
Right.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know what they say about the power of certain things that women have. However, like, that doesn't that get old, like the pursuit of that get old
no,
after a while, trying to
yeah, absolutely,
wine and dine, and I don't know. I know it doesn't get old for everybody, but when you old and alone and nobody to
yeah,
wipe your behind, and when you
Yeah.
can't take care of yourself, now you thinking maybe you should have rethought that assembly line approach. Whatever. Anyway,
No,
I'm just saying.
you right. You spitting facts.
Uh, okay. So, Drew first, and then Fred. What does marriage mean to you? So, if someone asked you to define it broadly, what would you? How would you describe it?
I would describe it as partnership, right? Um, it's partnership for for the benefit of each other, the overall
Mhm.
benefit of each other, and for the benefit of the world. Um, we learn so much from each other. It's almost like worlds colliding, right? So
Mm.
I think of it like, if you're an object and you get near a planet that has another gravitational force, it's going to pull you off your gravitational force, right? My parents were married for like 50 something years. My mom recently passed, but what I realized in her passing was that my dad was going to have to get to know himself for who he was, minus the influence of my
Mm-hmm.
mother for 50 something years, right?
Yeah.
And so I look at my own relationship and I'm like, all right, I've seen how my wife has influenced me to be a different person, a better person. I've done the same thing for her. And we change from who we are, you know, fundamentally sometimes. Like we change. And once we have those breakups, that's when we have to like take time to find ourselves again. And that's why there's difficulty in that, because you've been fashioning yourself next to somebody for so long. I think, you know, marriage is supposed to make us better. Not easily, but in the long run, you know what I mean, we should end up better than we were when we got into it.
Word.
See, again, this is what. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I go off on a tangent, Fred, respond to that, and then.
I mean, dang, you know, he done said it all. I agree wholeheartedly. The partnership. This was the hardest question that you sent to me, to be honest with you, though. It seemed simple, like what does marriage mean? Because I was like, I think it's whatever the couples make
Yeah,
it, right? So you got a blank canvas, and I actually think it's important that you approach it that way instead of trying to like wear somebody else's clothes, put on what you saw work for somebody else, because it's going to be as unique as your fingerprints. Even if you go, like me and my wife, we did premarital counseling. I had mentors and stuff like that, but my marriage is not like their marriage. They gave me some good games, some things to consider, but we still had to customize it to our liking and fashion after ourselves. Man, he spit bars too when he said, you change, like you are who you are in relationship with the person in this way. As a public speaker, the audience does have some influence on the speaker. Like they
exactly.
will either repeat themselves if they think the people aren't hearing them. They will try to say it another way. And so similarly, you're in relationship with someone and you could try to be as stoic as you want, but that person is leaving their fingerprints on how you're conducting yourself,
Yeah,
right? So you merge that way. You really do kind of become one. But I'm being long-winded. To put it succinctly, I would say, yeah,
Fine.
okay,
You're
okay,
fine.
no,
all right.
no, that was good. I mean, just think about the
No,
way
I
that your
wasn't cutting you
parents.
off. I'm saying you're fine.
Oh
Oh,
Just,
yeah,
go
okay.
ahead.
Let me cook then. All right. So it's a partnership between committed people. You're building a life that serves the individual, but also unified goals and purposes. And I would say it's the most raw, it's the most intimate, it's the most vulnerable playground, classroom, and job. It's a lot of work, and I think we do people a disservice with all the romance novels and stuff like that. It's work, but it's worthy of the work. Like that's what's so dope. Anytime we hit a rough patch, I'm always inspired to just press through it and just reaffirm, even in the middle of it, like, yo, I'm still locked in with you. I just don't like how we moving right now, or I ain't
yeah,
feeling you right now. Like you, I'm feeling away. I'm salty. I mean, I might walk past you with a chip on my shoulder, but I'm gonna still make your coffee. I'm gonna still have your essential oils going when you get up. You know, I'm gonna
yeah,
still do the things because I'm parked here. But yeah, it's a lot of work. But man, it's
yeah.
so rewarding.
It's rewarding.
Once the storm is over, you like look at what we did, man. You know,
Yeah.
like we deserve the joy we have right now because we persevered. We thugged it out. You know, like
I,
it's dope.
let me
It's dope.
tell you one experience that made it real for me. Right, I traveled with a group to Seoul, Korea. My wife didn't come with me, and we went to all these, you know, monuments and the different, you know, places all over the country, and everywhere we went, as wonderful as the time that I had, and I probably had the best time of my life there. The only thing I thought about was, man, I wish you were here with me to experience this. Like it
Mhm.
took away from my experience knowing that she would have loved it, but she wasn't there to experience, right?
Yeah.
And so we build partnership so that we can have feelings with someone like, man, like my life's not complete if they don't feel complete in it, right? it's yeah, it was just a moment, and I came back, and I keep telling her, but it made it really real for me. Like, man, if she's not with it, if she's not with me, like it changes my experience of life. Like that's the type of relationship I want to have. I want her always. I don't do guys trips because she ain't there, right? I don't want to have a good time if she's not there. And then plus at the end of the night, I'm gonna want to have a good time, and she's not there. So
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah,
Are they here?
on the
Who?
what?
Yeah, on the live. Are they here in the
Our
live? Your wife?
spouses?
Nah,
Yeah.
yeah.
My wife is on. My wife is on.
Hi, missus. Y'all got some
Yeah.
good husbands. I just wanted to say they spit in bars. So thank you for allowing me to pick their brains because they're great examples of and by the way, I put the message out and asked for people who are happily and willingly talking about the benefits of marriage, not begrudgingly, and they volunteered. They were happy to say so. So
Hey,
shout out to y'all.
hey, you helping us seal the deal for the night. You helping us. Good looking out. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we gonna pass the offering plate. Get you something good.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's my wife right there, the curly Pisces. She just said, hey.
hi.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so you guys kind of touched on this already. Your answers have been very like comprehensive, but
Mhm.
what would you say then are keys to making it work in your experience?
Who you want to go
Uh,
first?
either one is ready.
I'm,
All
Drew.
right, he gonna cook. Let me jump in there before you take all the glory.
Okay, go ahead.
um, there's so many. It's hard to narrow down to three, but I'm gonna adhere to that. I think it's critical to have a growth mindset. Like each individual has to be committed to becoming the best version of themselves to serve their interests. Like I'm personally invested in that, but the relationship deserves it, and my wife deserves it because she got skin in the game. It's the least I can do is to give my all, like to show up, right? And then my children also have been the second. They've also been a motivator. Like for instance, I remember I think it was 2017. One of my partners, a mentor, was like, maybe you want to consider therapy, and I was just like, yeah, but I'm good. And he was like, yeah, I'm sure you are, but you could be great. And I was like, dang, the real thing that made me turn on that, it was because I wasn't opposed to it. I just didn't think it was really that necessary or that urgent. I was like, dang, if I could be a better version of myself and bring that to my family, why would I not even explore it?
yeah,
Right. Um, so growth mindset, and when I say growth mindset, yeah, so it includes therapy in any appropriate modality that's accessible. It doesn't have to be talk therapy. It could be any other, versions. I would also say growth mindset includes giving grace to yourself, giving grace to your partner. Sometimes, man, it's crazy. You can make this assignment like I'm gonna change them. If they would behave, I could be. You put it because it's easier to control them when I don't have or want to do the self control thing.
Yep.
I'd rather control something external to me, right? And that goes to children too, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
that's another conversation. Um, but yeah, you got to have grace because you're growing into different phases of the relationship. Like who we are when we got married, I am not the same. Like I mentioned to you in the chat. Like I was a pastor. People would question, do I even, am I even, like, what the hell do I believe at this point? Like, they don't even know, but we were locked in when we first got married. So I've changed, she's changed, and our relationship has changed. It looks nothing like what it was when we first got married. So that's one. Sorry, I'm long-winded. That was one thing, growth mindset. The second one I would say is emotional intelligence, which would include things like how to self-regulate. Um, Lest you think the other person is pissing you off. No, you just happen to be pissed off already, and you need to get yourself together instead of spazzing. Being attuned enough to notice a shift in my mood, but my partner's mood, as well as know what her triggers are, my triggers are, and how we gonna move around that. Not that I gotta walk on eggshells, but maybe I determine, is this the time to try to do X, Y, Z, to mention X, Y, Z. Here's something I really had to learn, and most men, I would venture to say, let me not speak for most men. I would imagine this is common though. You have to, with emotional intelligence, you also have to expand your emotional vocabulary. I remember, like, in the first 2 years of marriage, I'd be feeling away. I'd be in my feelings for like 2, 3 days. And she would ask me, like, hey, what's wrong? And I wasn't lying to her when I would be like, hey, I'm good. I was really unaware that I had shifted emotionally because I had learned how, like, as a man, you associate stoicism with masculinity, and you're not always socialized in a way that you can give space, or even, like, who cares, like, about your emotions, like, just get it done. And so I had to learn to, like, oh yeah, these things matter, and I need to be able to communicate this to her. Like, I do need to give this update and keep it so it's not an enigma to her. um and then I would say, like, knowing your shadow self, being honest with yourself first so that you can act in integrity, like you can show up authentically, so that you don't have resentment later, and the person can make an informed decision. Do I want to keep thugging it out with you, or is, like, this not what I signed up for?
Mm-hmm.
That's emotional intelligence. Last one I would say is probably the glue for everything, is communication. And here's the cold part. Everything that I've done prior to marriage made me, I was disillusioned. I thought I was an incredible communicator
Mm.
because I was a preacher, I was a corporate trainer, I was a poet, published a book, all these things. So I'm like, yeah, of course I'm an excellent, but all those things are output. Like, and it was to audiences, not to an individual. I was horrible at effective listening. I had to acquire or build an emotional vocabulary. And then with communication is conflict resolution. My daughter asked us, like, a few weeks ago, like, do y'all ever argue? And I was like, yeah, we disagree often because we are two real people who had two different paradigms. And it's less frequent, right? Because we've been together so long, we got so much mileage together. But it's how we disagree. Like, we ain't gonna just, like, you still are a reflection of my choice. I was smart enough to marry you, and now I'm gonna be dumb enough to just totally invalidate you like that. That reflects poorly on me, you know. So we get down with boundaries and rules of engagement, knowing that I sleep here.
Mm.
You know what I'm
That
saying?
part.
Like, nah, it ain't gonna never get. And we just got a rule, like, man, I'm never gonna get to the point where I'm breaking my own stuff. Like, I don't know how they. I ain't never mad enough to punch a hole in the wall that I'm paying on a mortgage, break a dish that we gonna do something else. You know, we gonna go to the gym,
Yeah, go
something
take
else.
that aggression somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. You know. So
Okay, so Drew,
And
what did I?
and
I said
and
what do you think are the keys to making it work in your experience?
yeah,
Yes.
and Chisholm in the chat said, "Do y'all do couples therapy?" I do couples therapy. I marry folks. I'm a minister as well, and so we do counseling. So you can hit me up for that.
I think he means you and your wife. Is that what you mean,
Oh,
Prism? Yeah,
mm,
like do
oh yeah,
you
yeah,
and your wife do it?
yeah. We
I think
have,
that's what he means.
yeah, we have.
mm.
We've done extensive therapy, couples therapy. Yeah.
But okay, so besides that though, but what do you think are the keys to making it work in your experience?
So I think that the key number one is to realize that you and your partner are different people.
Mm,
Like
mhm.
you're not the same person. I think we underestimate when you have children, then you really see that people think differently, and they don't think the same way as you, and you can't make sense of the way in which they are processing information. When you have a teenager, it's like, what are you thinking, right? And they're thinking differently than you. They have a different perspective, but you can't figure out how they think. It's the
Right.
same thing with our spouses. Like we may think that they should feel a certain way or think a certain thing, but they're totally different people. They have different experiences. They have different backgrounds. I think that's number one. Number two is realizing it's the background piece.
Mm,
We all have and I'm trying to write a book about this right now, but we come from an environment that is comfortable for us,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of how toxic that environment was, how great it was, the relationships you had in it. What you're accustomed to is how you're able to operate. It's all that you know. It's a comfort zone for you. And so when we get in relationships, we both have a tendency to do what I call terraform. Like you try and recreate the atmosphere so that it's comfortable for you. It's comfortable for your species. Like you might be a fish, and now you have to bring oxygen into the water. Like you do whatever it takes to make the setting fit your emotional needs, right? And your spiritual needs, whatever it may be. Y'all are both doing the same thing at the same time in different ways. So there's going to be chaos when I'm trying to create this type of environment and my partner is trying to create a different type of environment. We're not going to be able to operate that way. And so I think that the key is really understanding who your partner is, because then you're able to understand their behavior, right? You're able to look at their backgrounds and say, oh, your mother went through this and she's passed some things on to you. And so now that's why it's an issue for you. It's a, there's no budging. You feel the way that you feel because it's a family thing, right?
Word.
That's how you all operate. And it's not a right or wrong. Like that's one thing that we have to realize. Like when we're arguing with our partners and misunderstanding, it's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
You're just arguing perspectives. If I have red paint on this wall, blue paint on this wall, depending on where we're sitting, I'm going to tell you a different color, right? And I think that's the biggest thing because we want to be comfortable in our relationships, and we leave relationships and find new partners because we're uncomfortable, because it's not working for us, not realizing that it's not going to be optimal for you. But you have to together create something that works for the both of you. And that takes that communication piece. Like if you don't talk, if you don't communicate, if you don't try, at least try a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. You'd be surprised at what you can find out about your partner once you argue. And I think that we're like onions, right? They're always layers.
Yep.
And the beauty I feel like in my relationship is that sometimes we may be going through it, and it takes us to a place where now, because of what we've gone through, I'm able to see you in a different light and understand some things about you differently that I didn't know before, right? Why this is such a deep issue for you, the things that you might have experienced when you were younger, or the way in which you saw an experience. That's what keeps it from getting stale. Now I get to learn you again. It's a new side of you that I didn't know before. So now they're just more facets that I get to fall in love with. Right?
Word.
Yeah, that was
You
good.
know, oh man, yeah, that was a bar. Hey, can I just chime in real quick without taking his thunder?
Go ahead.
Two things, man. Everything you're saying is just resonating strongly with me. One thing that's helpful for me to kind of ground me when we have disagreements is that, wait a minute, you're not my problem, nor do you have a problem. If you have a problem, then we have a problem that we are working to solve. Like it's not I got to fix you. We have to fix whatever this issue is, right? And then it's interesting you said you just relearned them and you're like, man, I got another fast. I just was like praising my wife this weekend. And I was like, yo, I just sensed that we had this new space. And I'm just fascinated with you because it's like, oh, I got that in you also. Like, and one thing that makes all the emotions high in the beginning, like the honeymoon stage, is like, it's the curiosity, it's the novelty. I'm not bored with this person because there's still so much to explore. And I'm just like, yo, 15 years in, oh, there's more. And I like this.
Yeah.
I like this, and I didn't even know I like this, but let's do that. So, it's she cooking.
Okay, Miss Curly Pisces.
Yeah. Yeah.
So y'all both gave some really like comprehensive responses. So you probably touched on some of these other things.
Okay.
And my wife jumped on too.
Okay. Hi, Mrs. Grandma. So I appreciate you, allowing me space to borrow your husband and pick his brain, because your husband and Mr. Fred over here are both dropping a lot of gems. So as my OG husbands in in the conversation. But what are your 3 pieces of advice you would give to a man contemplating marriage then?
I had to think about this as if what game would I give my son, right?
Mhm.
Now he's only 11 now, but still, I would tell him in his future. Somebody, one of your previous guests, one of them said something about, or maybe that was you who said something about like the grass is not green. So
That, that was
let me stay with
that
that.
was me.
That was you. Okay, let me give you
I
your
said the
props.
grass is greener where you water it.
Come on,
Yeah.
hey, you can give the benediction right now. That's it. And so I would say focus on your lawn and focus on it for the long term, not just what it looks like in the current season, because it's gonna change. Like it's gonna change anyway.
It's gonna
You
change.
know, I did good though. Like, my man said eye candy and the looks is not everything, but I did good. I got something that I still like to look at, and I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. And this is the game I tell my son now even. I'm like, look, man, get you somebody that has more to bring to the table than beauty, but make sure you like looking at it. And I kid you not, wrong or right, shallow or not, like I looked at my wife and I said, okay, what would this look like a couple babies later? Put some age on her, life stresses, and man, I did good. I'm
Okay.
and I want my son to do just as good. Yeah. So the grass is not always greener, nor is it always real. Like, and I think, man, I get concerned for my kids. Sometimes I'm like, man, social media paints
Yeah.
this narrative. That's why what you're doing right now is so critical. Because I'm like, who are the suitors that they're going to have to choose from? Like, you see these crazy memes where they're like, yeah, I can't get with a man that's going to take me here and this and that. I'm like, y'all missing it. Y'all focus on the wrong things, right? So,
They have no clue.
the grass is not always greener. It's green where you water it. Your grass is not supposed to look like somebody else's, and cherish that privilege. Like, don't forfeit your sovereignty and your right to create what you want. Like custom built. Who says my marriage got to look like my parents, my ancestors, the neighbor, my pastor, or whoever? I don't subscribe to that because they ain't the one going to bed with the person I'm going to bed with, right?
Yeah.
And so, in that same vein, it means you have to focus on the spouse in front of you. And what I mean by that is, I think I alluded to this earlier, like dating does not prepare you for marriage the way people think it does. Because you got to, I can't, my wife is a one of one.
Yeah.
Okay.
She is, sometimes it annoys me because she's so one of one. I will put forth the effort and listen to these podcasts. I ain't talking about the red pill podcast and all the trifling stuff. I'm talking about like credible stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that will help me understand what the psyche of a woman is and all this stuff so I can relate better. And she's like, yeah, I know what you read, but that ain't it. And I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
I just spent 3 hours. I should have just had a conversation with you.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm,
uh,
mm.
that happens so many times, right? So I don't need general knowledge about women. I need specific knowledge about her, and I need to keep updating it. Like I don't, I got a master's degree, but that was like several years ago. Chances are that stuff is obsolete. And the same stuff that I knew about my wife 5 years ago, I need to make sure that it's still relevant. Or shoot, sometimes literally, my wife will rave about a cologne. I will wear that cologne the following week, and she'd be like, "What is that?" Like it would be repulsive to her. I'm like, "Nah, no, hold on. You said you liked it, like so. So you can't just go off of stale
No.
information. You got to be fluid and agile." So that was the first piece: is to focus on your lawn. Second would be be fulfilled first. Do not make getting married your purpose. Do not make it like where everything hinges on this. First, be content with your own life. Be in pursuit of something purposeful. So one, that you don't settle. Like you so thirsty for somebody to validate you that you go with the first offer or you go with the first person that shows interest. And then secondly, so that you don't idolize your partner and expect them to provide or facilitate fulfillment that should have been sourced elsewhere, whether it be your pursuit of your goal, whether it be whatever. Like they can't be all things, and you're gonna have misguided expectations if you are not fulfilled first. Because yes, wait, I'm sorry. My other thought was and what that does when you are content first, it allows you to find balance between interdependence, you're not overly dependent, and autonomy, because they have to have their own autonomy.
Mhm.
But the other thing is, yes, I belong to her. She belongs to me, but she belongs to herself first. So that's how the interdependence and autonomy works. And yes, our marriage may be an extension of our family, extension of our community, but our marriage belongs to us first. So that's the play, right? And then the third thing, which I think somebody said, either my man here or your previous guest, deal with your demons. Like, you don't have to be perfect,
Mm-mm.
and that needs to be said more often. Like, people are they get so committed to doing the work. Like, man, you ain't gonna never be like, I don't know, man. You got to have somebody that has the elasticity to grow with you.
Yeah.
And you just need to acquire more tools along the way. Don't just keep putting it off, because you wasting good years also while you trying to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. Be stable. Be committed to the work. And be honest about what your shadow side is. Don't be in denial, and
Yeah.
know your triggers, know your idiosyncrasies, so that you could at least start with a healthy start. Um, yeah.
That
So
therapy life. So I'm telling y'all,
Yeah.
listen, once again, and I said it, with my previous guests, and I've said it on previous shows. People think they do not need therapy. Everyone can benefit. It is not because you have
yeah,
mental illness. It's not
right,
because you have a
right,
sickness. I mean, yes, for some people it is for that purpose, but it really is an outlet for you to talk about whatever's
yeah,
happening in your life, for you to understand yourself better, to understand how you can communicate
yeah.
and move in the world more productively. It is just it's mental maintenance. That's
Word.
that's all.
And to that
Um
point, uh, I'm a strong advocate for therapy too. Most seasons I'm going like every 2 weeks. Sometimes I might be like, I'm good, and sometimes I'm like, I'm good, but I just show up out of discipline. Like, you go to the gym, and I'm like, dang, I needed this more than I thought. And what it has helped me do is it's helped me identify some truths that like, because I'm an external processor, so sometimes it helps me just prioritize and organize my thoughts. And then sometimes I get to dismiss them, like, this ain't even worth bringing to her, because my therapist done set me straight. Or I get the proper way to communicate in a way that will land with her. I get coaching on it, you know. So yeah, I think everybody would benefit from going to therapy. Even
Yeah.
not even that
unfortunately,
it has to be like a year, like maybe just for a short stint, and see what value you at least should explore it. I should say that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Drew, I want you to respond to the question about your three top pieces of advice. But just really quickly, I do think I understand that there's a cost associated with it. Like, if it's
Mm,
not covered by insurance, it can be expensive. So
yeah,
I'm just saying, if you have the means or you have the
yeah,
ability, I think it's beneficial. So people shouldn't dismiss it like, oh, that's for somebody who's mentally unstable. It isn't. It is for them.
yeah.
It's also for people who consider themselves mentally stable, but maybe you not
Word.
neither. Also, if one partner goes and the other doesn't, I think sometimes it can make communication challenging, because you're speaking with another set of tools that they don't have, and they're like, what are
Mhm.
you even talking about? They can't even understand you.
Hey, but
Yeah.
When
check this
all
out, Becky. I know Becky's not your real name. I'm just going with
it's
it.
fine, whatever.
My wife has not gone to therapy though,
Mhm.
which is and it's and so here's the thing that you have to learn in marriage too. Is another bar. Learn how to make more observations than judgments. Like, I could easily, well, I'm doing it, so you should do it. Well, who's to say that? Because I'll also say my wife is more she really is more intuitive than I am. Like, I will
Women are just more
do the
intuitive in general. Just saying.
I think there's really merit to that. Like, I will labor over like scholarly work, come back and share my findings with her. She will ask one question that will just unravel a day's worth of study, or she will succinctly say what took me an epistle to say. So I don't know. That's not to say that she couldn't benefit from it, but I'm just saying, it depending on what they bring to the table, where they're already at, it could still work.
Nah, I hear you.
Yeah.
um Drew, top
Yeah.
three
So
pieces of advice.
I'm gonna say I have four. Number one is know God, right? Um, Number two is I'm going to try and keep it quick. You got to know yourself, right?
Word.
Like you have to know how you actually tick. You have to go to therapy. You got to figure yourself out. Before I married folks, one of the prerequisites that I have for um, doing a wedding ceremony and doing counseling with them is saying you all have to go to individual therapy because you got to figure out who you are. The things about you that you'll learn in your marriage, it's going to come out. Who you are is going to come out, and you may not always know who
Mm-hmm.
you really are
Mm-hmm.
until your partner brings it out. And so you have to start that process of really figuring out who you are, because you're going to grow, both going to grow together, and you're going to change and evolve. And it's really difficult to be dealing with your partner's changes while you're dealing with your own changes at the same time. Trying to figure out who she's becoming while you're trying to figure out what you're becoming at the same time. So know yourself first off. Like the other gentleman said, make sure she's attractive, be attracted to her mind, the way in which she thinks, the way in which she processes information, because you don't want to have sit down and have conversations with somebody who can't hold the conversation, or
Word.
you just sitting there getting to know them, and you just like, I hate the way that you think. Like, no, you have to be attracted to her mind. You have to be attracted to her soul, her spiritual life, the things that she believes in, how she believes, and you have to know that off the bat. Um, what is her spiritual life like? What does she believe in? Who does she believe in? How does she practice? You know what I mean, on a practical level. Um, and better be attracted to her body, to her beauty. Something's going to, make you glad that you get to go to sleep with her at night. Hopefully you don't want to lay down and be like, I don't want to be here because of what I'm looking at.
You're gonna take a guy's trip and don't
That's
come back.
Yeah,
that's
I
not a
mean,
good
so yeah, the
that's not
thing
a
is,
good place to be
I
in.
think that people do take attraction for granted, and especially as we're older, they like, well, that
Yeah,
can't be necessarily a priority for you anymore. And I
Mm.
I do think that women tend to be more how you say, like,
Forgiving.
yeah. Um
yeah. Well,
I mean, listen,
and
we're all going to age, and
yeah,
we're not all going to look the same many years from now. But again, I do think that physical attraction is something that
yeah,
there has to be
that's,
something physically
yeah,
about the person that is appealing to
yeah.
you.
It
Yeah.
will change. So
Yeah.
just know that everything that you know about your partner is going to change. And
Here's
so
the other
you
thing
have to
too about the
be
looks.
prepared for that. Uh-huh.
It communicates effort. Like even if you don't look like you looked when we were in our 20s, the fact that you are getting done up suggests that you're putting forth the effort to keep my attention. Like you're not taking me for granted. Like you recognize that I got something going on and somebody else might be trying to get my eye. That's not to foster insecurity by stating that reality. It's saying like let's just not play ourselves though. You will make it much easier for me to control wandering eyes if I already know I got something at home. Like
Yeah,
that's just the
yeah.
reality.
I mean, and we want to look good for our partner. Every time I go get my hair cut, I wait for her to tell me if she likes it or not, because it's what she thinks is important.
Word.
Um, and the last key I would say is know where you're going. Like you gotta, before you get into a marriage, you gotta have an understanding of who you are, who she is, and you have to know where it is that you're trying to go. You can't. I got married really young, so I was still figuring. I was 25, but we met when I was, 20, 21. But it took me time to really get to know where I was going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have somebody who's riding with you, they want to make sure that they're going in the right direction. And so
Right.
you need to have an understanding of what your dreams and your goals are, because marriage can distract you from what you're trying to do. It can
Yeah.
change what's important to you. Before you're trying to work on yourself. Next thing you know, your focus has changed to children or to making sure that your wife is happy. spending time with her when you could be spending time, building your business and pouring into yourself, for a period. If you have a plan and you know where you're going, right? So you just have to be, everything's going to matter. You have to know where you're going and have some type of idea of who it is that you are, that you want to be. Yeah.
So I
And
have a
there's so
final
much
question. Oh,
more.
I'm sorry.
I'm
No,
saying
I
there's so much
listen. I know
more.
we could talk about this for hours, but I do want to be mindful of the time. And like I
Mhm.
said, you guys both gave some really like comprehensive answers. So you kind of touched on some of the other questions that I was going to ask you in your responses already.
Right.
But the final question, and you both kind of talked about this earlier. Um, Drew, you said that your parents were married for a long time, and Fred, you said that you had an opposite situation. So
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how much your experience growing up influenced your desire to be married. Actually, I do have one more question after this. But
Mm-hmm.
how
Okay.
much did your experience with your own parents influence your desire to be married, and then are your closest friends married?
Yeah.
Like, how does your inner circle look?
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. As I was, um, I just came from my, back to school night, and I'm sitting in the class. And I'm thinking about the Cosby Show, and I'm like, I wish my kids could watch every episode of the Cosby Show with me because it gave you an understanding of, all right, these are crazy teenagers and they think like this. But it also gave an example of how you should, what a teenager is supposed to operate like. And it gave you an example of what a good marriage should be, right? Um, my parents were married 50 something years, and I got to see them work through challenges, work through
Mhm.
issues, um, ups and downs. They stayed focused on God. Um, they stayed focused on family, but to they had to work things out in order to figure out how to stay together and how to raise us. Right? They came from two totally different backgrounds, and it showed. But
Mhm.
they had to come together and work it out and work through things. I think what we've lost is the ability to work through things. If we are uncomfortable in our jobs, then we bounce fast. These generations more than any, right? We're just not used to discomfort. Um, and we don't, everything's not going to be easy. Like things that are worth having take energy and take effort.
Word.
That's the reason why you appreciate it. If you get a lump sum of money, you're going to blow through that thing. But if you work to make that same amount of money, you're going to treat it differently. And so
Hmm.
as we, are engaged in our relationships, and over the years, I've just seen them gain value in their experiences and how they had to work through things.
Word.
And just really quickly, your friends circle, because you were talking about
Oh,
your parents mainly, right?
yeah. So I have my best friend just got married, so one of my main guys, groups, everybody's married now. And this is all that we talk about. And we talk about the difficulties, but because we're able to talk about the difficulties, we can also give pointers and answer questions. Nobody's answering questions. If you were a group of guys, we're not answering questions that haven't been asked,
Right.
right? So we don't talk a lot, but we're not trying to fix problems that haven't been presented. But
Yeah.
because everybody's married in our group, we'll just talk about different things, and as men, we'll try and bring solutions. And so it's a good thing. I also have some single dudes, um, and I hang out with them from time to time.
I'm
But
sure it's a different conversation, I bet, though.
it, some of them, some of the conversations, they're not all completely different, but it's a different perspective that we're bringing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Fred.
Yeah. So my parents they got divorced when I was 4. had joint custody of me, like, partial time here, partial time over there, till I was about 10, maybe 11. And then my pops just was out of the picture. Like, uh, and so I have no recollection of like seeing it modeled in front of, like in my home. I was raised and nurtured in the church. So you would see at a distance some semblance of what marriage is. You're not going home with these people. These are not always your people, but you can kind of see, oh, these are coupled people. They got some staying power, stuff like that. But I had two mentors, Pastor Carter and Troy Richards, one of my neighbors, and being at their house was like watching the Cosby's or Family Matters live. And so I think they left an indelible impression upon me, like subconsciously, even more than subconscious. Like I went on to be a pastor, having been mentored by these pastors. It got into real estate, having been under the tutelage of this broker. I can see a lot of things seeds that were planted, and I was kind of on this path and didn't know how I was being compelled to do that. Right. So no, I didn't see it. And the crazy thing is, to talk about beating the odds. I come from a single parent home. So does my wife. So neither one of us had a blueprint. And some people could say that was a disadvantage. I think it could be a disadvantage, but I also think it allowed us to like wipe the slate clean, say we're gonna build our own the way we want it to serve us, right? Like we're not beholden to these arbitrary rules.
Yeah.
And your other question, did I answer that question? And then
Yes, you did. But the other question was just about like your friend circle.
my friend group.
Is it comprised of like a mix of single and married? Is it mainly married? Is it single? Like what does it look like? Oh no, he's buffering. All right, well. So I have a question for you, Drew, while
Yeah,
he's
he made me think about something, and I forgot that fast.
okay, so I have a question for you. Maybe it'll come back and maybe he's gonna get his situation together there. But
Am I with you? Am I with you? Am I frozen?
you're buffering. Now you're not.
Okay.
Now you're not, but you were buffering.
My bad. I hope I wasn't caught in an awkward moment. Now become a meme.
Like,
dude.
Oh, you look like the thinking man. So no.
Real short. Yes, my friends are all married. That's not a prerequisite. I think it just happens. Birds of a feather flock together. You find yourself in the same spaces. I got some loose acquaintances that are like maybe aspiring to get married or on their way. But yeah, I'll rock with people as long as you don't like put me at jeopardy, and you respect my marriage, But yeah, I don't require that. It just happens.
Okay. So, final question, and the main reason why I invited y'all here. So, what would you each describe as the benefits of marriage, in the most succinct way that you can describe them?
I think it's the most cost-effective way. Like I'm not squandering my resources on multiple people only to end up with lessons like, oh, okay, this doesn't work. It anchors me. I'm accountable to someone and accountable for someone. So it inspires me to like if it wasn't enough for me to show up for myself, I have someone else to show up for as well, kind of like an accountability partner. Um, and I have a safe space to grow and be vulnerable because I know this is not a tent. This is a house that has like foundation laid and everything. You're not going to be scared off at the first sign of chink in my armor. Like you're going to thug it out with me. And so that allows me to grow, and then, like she's a mother of my kids. Just two are better than one. Let's get this bread. Like, let's like build something. Like I got a partner. I don't have a liability. Like she wasn't waiting for me to come save her and pay all her bills off, and then she just sit looking pretty. Like we are building something together. We both can take pride in.
Okay, and Drew.
And so everything that he said, and Army veteran on here said Urkel got a brother. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I like
You know who that person is?
No, I don't.
I don't know who that person is either. You want me to block him?
No. That's hilarious. That was so funny. I just had to mention it.
Whatever. Anyway.
No, it was funny. I laughed. But with everything that he said, but also is just realizing that I think the benefit is that it builds you into a better person. Like you get the partner. Everything he said. I don't want to repeat what he said because he said it all. You get the partner, but it builds you into a better person. It makes you responsible. People rise to the level of responsibility. They
That's
don't
good.
rise to certain levels where there's no responsibility, there's no challenge, there's no challenge to do something different. It builds you. It literally builds you into a better, more responsible. Um, it gives you a sense of awareness. It makes you able to think about um, others. Uh, you know, I don't go out to eat and not call her up like, yo, do you want something? Like it makes you think outside of yourself and expand you beyond your own borders. So I think that's added to everything that my brother said. That's one thing that I would add.
There was something that you guys had said earlier that got me thinking, but the thought has passed. So,
Mm.
Oh, and I
I
did.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as my brother was talking about, having mentors, something that popped in my head that I probably, look at on my own is I wonder if there's like a correlation. You said your pop wasn't in the house.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, they had joint custody, so I would spend part of the week at his house between ages 4 and 11
Hmm.
or 10, one of the two, and then he left the state.
Yeah,
And then got locked up, did some time. Like
yeah,
I caught up with him when I was 24, but I was so
yeah,
underwhelmed. I was like, I'm grown now. Like I don't, I don't have the energy to try to build. It's not real. Like I'm not bringing you around a family. I'm not. It's fine.
yeah.
I can't get that
And
time back.
what it made me think about was that if there's a correlation between um, not having a father figure in the house and your community's attempt to give you mentors outside of
Mm,
your home, right?
I
Because
think
most of the
so
times,
because they
most
they took me in almost like as an obligation, and then now I feel obligated. Like I'm always looking for someone to pay it
yeah,
forward to, who
yeah,
kind of fits that same profile. I will also say, and I don't mean to cut your wisdom. Let me say this real quick. There's a it may be perverted, but there's some type of competition that I had, like because you asked like how does that influence our decision to get married. So like the first 4 years, I'm like, well, I ain't gonna throw in the towel. I don't care how hard it is, because I ain't gonna be no sucker like my pops was. Is the
yeah,
narrative in my head. And then because he bounced when I was 11, as I'm raising my kids, I'm like, look, man, can't nothing happen to me. I gotta be here to outperform him.
yeah.
I know it's a toxic type of motivation, but I
It's
just made it serve me.
it's
Uh,
not
It
a
is not
toxic
to
motivation.
be I don't think it's
It's
toxic
a
at
oh,
all.
motivation.
okay,
Yeah,
It's
I
it's
think
okay,
it's
work.
it's
it's
great
just a
motivation.
motivation,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah, yeah.
based off of your experience. So who you are, how you show up. Just think about it. Who you are and how you show up for your kids and for your family is based off of the environment that you came from, right?
Work,
And
work.
so, aside from that example, just think of how many more ways in which we show up in our relationships and for our families that are based on, just how we came up. But yeah, that thought came across my head because I'm thinking like for people who have fathers in the house, most fathers aren't looking for someone outside of themselves to be the main example for their child, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it may be a thing. This is just how I think. I think out loud. It may be a thing that, coming from a single parent home gives a a sense that this child needs mentors. So you may be introduced to more mentors growing up than somebody who had their dad at home.
Sure.
That was just something that I thought about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Crown King had asked if it's being recorded. It'll be posted on my YouTube probably, sometime tomorrow. So you can find it there. But I will share where it can be found because my guest definitely dropped a lot of gems. I had two folks on earlier, Jay and Calvin, and now Drew and Fred. Y'all have been phenomenal. I truly appreciate the insight. And shout out to me for being a great wing woman, because
Absolutely.
Big salute to you.
The,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hostess
You
with the
out here doing
mostest.
God's work, setting people straight, dispelling
Thank,
myths and all that. Yep.
yeah.
well,
Thank,
not
thank you for
just that,
having
but
us
I'm saying
on.
for y'all,
Oh yeah.
obviously y'all wives,
You hooked me
have
up.
some good
Hmm.
husbands, but I'm
Yep.
just saying,
I'm cashing in a little bit.
that's
Let's wrap
a
this up. No.
virtual high five for the host.
Word. Yep.
But
Yep.
anywho, so I appreciate y'all joining me this evening. Do you have any final words that you would like to share before I sign off? Either of you
This
No,
can go.
was fun. I appreciate the opportunity to come on with you. This was fun. And you organize, you set the right expectations. Like you handled it in excellence before the show and even during the show. So thank you.
No, thank
yeah,
you. And
thank
Drew,
you.
Mhm.
The same thing. Thank you for having us. The conversations and format were great tonight. The questions, I was looking at the questions like, oh, these are some good questions.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
thank
you
you
It was
again.
absolutely,
cooking. Yeah.
absolutely. And just to leave to the ladies and gentlemen who might be watching, just know that marriage is hard, but it's worth it.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That's the part when again. So okay, so you
It's hard work.
gentlemen
It's
can
hard
see
work. It's not just
yourselves.
hard.
I'm sorry.
No,
You gentlemen can see yourselves out. Thank you
thank
again.
thank you.
So I can
All
have
right.
my final thoughts.
Okay. All right.
All
Bye.
right, good night. And thank you, ladies, for allowing me to borrow your husbands for a little bit. Okay, so once again, I appreciate y'all hanging in for this marathon edition of the Becky Brown Girl Show. I missed you last week, but so I wanted to bring back something that I thought would be useful, right? Um, like anything in life, marriage is what you make it. It's about picking the right partner and then be willing to do the work. And, we always want everything that's easy and comfortable, like they were saying, and it requires work, it requires effort. And y'all both have to be, in alignment, constantly checking in and making sure you're both good and working towards the same goal at the end of the day. So, once again, the grass is greener where you water it. So, with that said, I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks for hanging out. And I'm out. Peace to fingers.